looks like. There we go. How about that? Even better now. Welcome everybody to the show. Sorry I had my mic muted. I was doing some configuration a little bit earlier, but now we have our audio working. So we received questions in the past, or comments really, and it's kind of sad because trading, unfortunately, is still this kind of good old boy male-dominated network. And it's interesting if you take a step look back, how it's evolved. We're seeing more and more women in trading. And some of the viewers have said, hey, listen, we'd like to see more about women in trading. Well, you know what? We're going to have a good session on that today because we got Kaitlyn Ochrym joining us today. She is, I think she's in Arizona, but she is a futures trader. We're going to talk a lot more about what she does, how she trades, and maybe her background in trading. So Kaitlyn, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing, Merlin?
I'm fantastic. It's good to finally have you on the program. I know it's been a long time. I probably could have had you on years ago, but good to have you finally with us.
So good to be here. Yeah, I know it's been a while since we've seen each other. I remember seeing you out in California, so it's good to reconnect here.
That's right. Out in Irvine, California. That's right. You were doing some teaching, right?
Just kind of cruising the OTA office at the time and getting used to things. So now to go from that to here is so amazing.
Yes. You've made some big transitions, which we'll talk about. So one of the things I like to do right at the beginning is I like to do like kind of an instructor or trader profile. Since you teach and trade, you get to do both of those. Tell me a little bit about your background, and really what I'm looking for is three questions. Number one is how long you've been trading, and of course, there's a lot of roads that lead to that. Number two would be what assets you trade. And number three would be what's your trading style?
Perfect. So I've been trading, I would say about 3 years now. Got into it as a student way back in the day and just, really fell in love with trading. More from the analytical side and technical aspect of reading the charts, really found that was my passion. As far as markets that I look at, I love the futures markets. The four ones that I primarily look at are the equity index futures, S&P, the NASDAQ, the Russell, and the Dow. Those are my favorites. I'm one of the type of people that says I like to focus on a few different products and not necessarily a ton of different ones. So those ones are my favorites, especially in the live trading room sessions we do, focusing on those ones just to get a good understanding of them. So equity index futures, a few stocks, some of them that help me get a gauge for what the futures markets are doing. And what was the third question?
What's your style? Are you a long-term, short-term, hyper day trader? What are you?
Okay, so love breakout trades. I would say more active income trading. So I like looking at, 15-minute, 30-minute, hourly charts. Typically start with the higher time frame, so daily, weekly, to get a good picture overview of the trend, and then zoom into the smaller time frames for those active income trade setups. Yeah, styles, love breakout trades, trading with the trend. Those are the ones I typically gravitate towards.
All right, cool. So we got the three down. So primarily index futures, but I know you dabble in maybe the gold or oil, some commodities every now and again, right?
Yes, whatever has a good setup. So I'm not biased as far as what I'm looking at. If I see a setup starting to appear, then I'm going to go right into it.
All right, well, we'll talk about maybe what setups you look for here in a little bit. One thing that you glazed over so quickly, I want to make sure we get to this, is I put in the title for the show today, which is saying, from Wall Street to Main Street. You did start off with big firms like Oppenheimer and JP Morgan. So tell us a little bit about maybe what you did. I know you weren't on the trading floor per se, but obviously when you come from that institutional mindset, you have and to me, it's almost this elitism of, hey, I work for JP Morgan and Oppenheimer. And now you're doing your own thing, you're trading your own money, and you are educating as well. So you've gone exact opposite of what the institutions would normally tell you to do. How did that happen?
Right, it's not necessarily something I thought was going to happen. I was huge in finance, went to college for finance, got this offer at JP Morgan at their headquarters back in the day in New York City, and absolutely loved it. I love the company, worked there for about 5 years, took a ton of FINRA licenses to work my way up through the company. Got 6 of them, so I got the Series 7, 63, 9, 10, 24, and 4, which took me many years to get those, but got them. I was so excited, gonna work my way up, become a manager. Ultimately did that at JP Morgan, was managing client service reps, overseeing the traders, worked at Oppenheimer as well for a little bit. Really loved it. But I remember it was one day when I started seeing one of the advisors showing me some.
Uh-oh, we froze.
Did I freeze?
There you go. You froze. You're back. You're one of the advisors. You kind of caught you mid-advisor sentence. So.
Okay, yeah, one of the advisors I remember was showing me his chart setups, and I remember just being so fascinated by the charts. That's where my analytical mind and technical side came out. I was like, this is something that I really want to do. Now, I wouldn't recommend anyone else to do this, but I did quit my job and say, okay, I'm going to focus on this. I'm going to be a full-time trader. It was very challenging at first, but ultimately that was the leap I took from corporate life. I left JP Morgan, left Oppenheimer to start trading full-time, and really just the best decision I've ever made.
Yeah, you come from a background that I wish I was a part of. Like, I worked for a financial planning firm, but it was not a major name out there. And for me, it was one of the best things ever because it showed me a perspective of the financial markets that I thought was supposed to function a specific way. So for me, I thought the markets were, hey, you go work as a financial planner or an advisor, and it's all about your customer. Customer's number one. And the more you do it, you realize that's not the case. It's really more about the firm's number one, and if your customer makes some money, good, but we don't really care. More important, we make money. So I left as well, and the best thing I've ever done is actually taking a class on trading and investing in 1998. So here we are now, both kind of in similar paths that we left the financial world to go do our own thing. Now I see, it's funny, we have Patrick here. He says, sheesh, I've been trading 3 years as well, and I suck. Patrick, I wouldn't necessarily say that. There's a learning curve I think we all go through, and Kaitlyn is in a very unique position because you have surrounded yourself with mentors. I know you work with Jeff Manson, and I'm sure you've worked with many others. That has certainly, I'm assuming, helped your learning curve accelerate dramatically.
Tremendously, yeah. No, I highly recommend someone finding a mentor or someone to coach them. That was really what took me from a struggling trader, being frustrated, to then at one point reaching out to Jeff Manson saying, I admire your trading style, how you visualize the price patterns on the charts. Like, can you help me a little bit and help me see what you see? Now that took me, X number of months of just practice and discipline, but it really opened my eyes to visualizing the price patterns so much more clearly, understanding how the markets move. So if you don't have someone to coach you or to help you or guide you, I would definitely recommend, finding someone that you click with to help you get to that point.
Since your experience in the markets, you've never been through a bear market, so we'll talk after this market crashes, but what would you say has been, I guess, the biggest challenge for you? And again, I think we all understand that trading is very introspective. Your problems are going to be different than some others, but what would you say was the toughest part for you to overcome in your path to success?
Oh, great question. I would say not knowing what information to use and what information not to use. Initially the first few years of doing this, I remember just taking bits of information from everyone, trying to implement it, and just going down a ton of different rabbit holes of not really knowing what made sense or what didn't. And actually, one of the students, I'm not going to name names, that I'm coaching now is saying a similar thing where he's like, I'm using different indicators, I'm using different strategies. And, for me, just simplifying it, and you'll see, like, when I show my charts, they're pretty bare. I don't have a whole lot on them, but just understanding, price action, how the markets move, and simplifying it is something that really helped me in my process.
Nice, yeah. I mean, simplification makes it much easier, right? Keep it the KISS method. I have to comment on this one from Pepe. He says, let's not forget that SS was the guru before. SS was never a guru. SS was a self-proclaimed guru who made everybody believe he was great. So we'll just leave it at that. If you don't believe me, we can go check some litigation where it shows that SS lost money. And anyway, we won't go down that path. No sense to throw shade under the bus or anything like that. But, all right, so how did you land on futures to begin with? Because you mentioned that you trade futures, mainly index futures. I know there's some commodities in there. But if you have equities in there as well, most people start with equities. It's like marijuana. It's your gateway drug into the financial market. So what was it that prompted you to end up in futures? Was it Jeff? Because I know he's the futures guru.
He was definitely part of it, yeah, for sure. I like the liquidity of futures and being able to, look at my phone, the charts pretty much 24/7, see what's going on in the markets. So I like that aspect of it. And just that overall, these markets have been trending to the upside, so looking for ways to get in long as the markets have been going higher. But the past few weeks, as we've been seeing, starting to roll over, actually been getting some nice breakouts.
And over here, but okay. You mentioned that you had some breakout trades to the downside. I was kind of cracking up because I was going to seed you with that one of, hey, look, you look at things like the Russell and some of these other indexes. We've definitely we're starting those breakout trades. Now, no certainty whether we're going to keep trucking to the downside, but how are you playing this? Because, oh, there you go. Perfect. Oh, look at that. She's got the screen share going. I'm bringing it up. There you go. I'll share your screen. You've got the tools, so go for it and show us what you're looking at.
Excellent. So I'm looking at the Dow right now, and I know a lot of traders try to pick bottoms as the markets are going to the downside. Me, again, going back to trend, love to see that if we're making lower highs and lower lows and breaking these pivot lows, I'm trying to get short at some good entry points to the downside. I mentioned that I do look at stocks. So for the Dow and the S&P, over here on the left-hand side, I'm taking a look at IBM and Goldman Sachs as additional odds enhancers for my feature trade. So what I'm looking at are the stocks, which is the cash market, and using me to get a better gauge of the futures markets as far as whether my trade setups, long or short, are going to be working out. I do want to show a screenshot that I took from our live trading room actually 2 days ago, just showing you the huge drop, taking a breakout trade to the downside and the result from our live trading room that session. So, again, going back to my two things that I love to showcase and trade is trading with the trend and participating in some of these strong moves when we do know what side of the trade we want to be on. Right now, currently in a long position, 10-minute buying territory here. However, going back to trend, I'm not very focused on staying in this long term, ultimately just seeing it as a potential bounce and the market's continuing to move lower until we see confirmation for a potential move back to the upside.
On that note, you've got your this is a daily chart of obviously the Dow. I see you've got all kinds of different zones mapped out there. You got a 10-minute, a 13, a 15, and an 8-minute. How are you fragmenting this market up to look for these different, so many different time frames? Because I know most people are going to stick to a 5, a 15, a 60. You've got some interesting ones in there. Like an 8-minute selling strategy or selling territory, right? Most people don't look at an 8-minute chart.
Right, that's the misconception I feel about trading is that people think that they need to stick to certain time frames, but ultimately what Jeff and I teach is that it's all about a certain picture on the price charts. So let me even go down, like you're talking, I'll go down to a 9-minute time frame and show you what I'm looking for. So when we see these areas where we see a battle between where there's buy tickets and sell tickets, I'm looking to the left-hand side and seeing that this was an area where there was obviously buy tickets because price was bouncing up and being pushed up to the upside. Once price breaks down, I'm thinking, okay, time to find a nice short position. There may be some unfilled orders just above that area. So we can see this on a 9-minute. For those of you who are just looking at a 1 hour, 2 hour, 15-minute, you might miss out on some trade opportunities because you're not getting all the detail that may be shown on some of these oddball time frames. So, I got 18 minutes, 12 minutes. Ultimately, it's just how you visualize the price patterns to find those high probability entry points.
I like that. It's interesting. I mentioned to the audience here a while back, I had a friend who he uses moving averages, and there's these, the belief that you have to use a 20 period or 50 period moving average. And what he would do is he would just sit there and change the time frame. He'd go from 19 to 18 to 17 to 16, and whichever one fit the picture the best is the time frame that he was trading on. And I kind of see you doing something similar with your charts. You're saying, okay, well, the 15-minute might not give me a nice zone, but if I whittle down, all of a sudden, who knows? I'm at the 7-minute chart and it's showing a fantastic supply zone or whatever zones you're trying to look for. Interesting, because most people stick with the big standard time frames.
And I don't think the institutions don't fill their orders based on a 30-minute chart or a 15-minute chart. They're just filling orders over a period of time. So that's where I want to be flexible with my time frames to get the right picture versus being set in stone on a certain, hourly or 30-minute. I want to be a little bit flexible when it comes to that.
Yeah. So when you have a big break, and you're on the a 9-minute over here, but if you go back to that daily real quick, you look at the big picture, how do you position yourself for that? Because you've got the Dow there, but if you look at something like the S&P or, the Russell, the Russell is one that's just perfect for talking about falling apart. As we rip down to these lows and everything just keeps on dropping, the breakout trade may have left already on that Russell, So how do you play that? Are you waiting for a pullback to short at some of those zones you've mapped out?
Absolutely, yeah. If everyone's still trying to pick the bottoms and think, I'm going to go along here, I know with high probability where their stops are going to be at, so I'm going to take a breakout as the markets keep pushing lower until I see differently. So right now I'm waiting for these pullbacks above this prior support level. Let's see, just dropping down to the 1 hour, you can see I marked some of these selling territories that are right at or slightly above that breakout point. So we missed it here, but let's find another correction or pullback move into a supply zone to then participate in this continued move to the downside.
Yeah, well, I mean, the good news is you got someone with you that is, I guess, really understands the shorting side of things, because I have a feeling we are going to be doing a lot of shorting in 2022, and what started as a breakout trade may turn into a great trend trade here going forward. And again, time will tell. We'll see all these things pan out, but we are in the midst of, I believe, a nice market transition, which should help pay dividends for many people out there.
Mm-hmm. Not picking bottoms, but trading with the trend. I think it's trading with the trend, or what do they say? The trend is your friend.
Till the bend at the end.
Exactly.
Yeah. Someone is asking about your Discord. You mentioned Discord group. Do you have a Discord group?
Yes, we do. So for those of you, I'm going to talk about that, I think, more at the end. If you go to theelitetrade.com, that's our baby that Jeff and I just put out for our new website for the Elite Trade. Those of you who sign up for our live trading room do get access to our community Discord group to learn more about some of this, what I'm showcasing here, and get input from other students, see their trade setups and ideas, all part of the Discord group, as long as you're part of the live trading room, so we can all be on the same page with what we're looking at.
Nice. All right, so you got through the broad market indexes. What else are you seeing? I mean, I know you mentioned some commodities. Is there anything exciting in that commodity space that you like? Because the indexes are pretty much all following that same basic trajectory of a southbound train at this moment.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. If I see something where I'm more confident, the indexes right now rolling over, I'll kind of just hone in on these versus getting distracted with some of the other charts. And I can, and in our live trading room, if someone wants to look at oil, look at gold or gas, absolutely willing to do that. I just if I see a clear picture of, we're trending to the downside, I want to just hone in my efforts and my focus on where the quality entry points are on those pullbacks or breakouts to the downside, and really just focus on those. Stock-wise, again, so looking at the NASDAQ, for example, you can see over on the left, looking at Apple, Tesla, Microsoft, Google, Facebook, Amazon. If for whatever reason I start to see the stocks moving higher, then I'm thinking maybe the cash market's starting to push. The futures markets are likely going to follow what the cash market's doing. We may start to see that turn back to the upside. Mm-hmm. We're looking at the stocks still very bearish right now, making, again, lower highs and lower lows. That's going to help me with my trade setups with trading the NASDAQ futures.
On that NASDAQ, I mean, you see that really aggressive sell-off we've had over the last 3 trading sessions. You're coming down into those, into some potential demand zones. I don't see any demand zones mapped out there. What's going on? You're not expecting any bounces here?
I'm expecting bounces, and that's funny. That's what I see, traders asking too. They're like, well, where's the turn going to come into play? I mean, we're in one right now. I didn't have it mapped out, but all I'm seeing is, trend is down. I want to be more aggressive with my short trades versus picking a bottom, holding on and fingers crossed the trend is going to go back to the upside. I want to trade with it until we start to see momentum to the upside. And for me, if I start to see some key prior resistance areas getting broken through. So this area we can see has been tested, looks like once, twice, 3 times here. If we start to break this resistance level and move higher, then I might change my perspective and start to go long. But until we get up here, I'm trying to just get in short as the market continues to roll over.
Yeah, there'll be plenty of opportunity in that vein. You mentioned that you are kind of a breakout trader. Are you also, I guess maybe I can ask you your perspective. We have a lot of people who believe technical indicators are the answer, and that's the holy grail. Do they incorporate into your trading? Because I don't see any on your charts.
Yeah, what you see is what you get. The main one that I look at is volume to see when some of these zones and setups were created. Then I'm going to give more credence to that, especially during the regular trading hours. If I see some of these setups being formed between, 8 a.m. and 11 a.m. Eastern time, or the last, I would say, 2 hours of the regular trading session, then they tend to have higher probability of getting retraced to those levels. So volume I'm looking at, but all these other indicators that people look at, like moving averages, trend lines, trend breaks is, for me, I just look at price action. I say, where's the battle going on? You can see, for example, here's where strong evidence of buy tickets holding the market up, broken through here. So I'm going to be looking for a short position when price retraces back to this area.
The reason I bring that up is I'm like you. Actually, you have more on your screen than I do. So you have yeah. You know why? You have grid lines.
Can I remove them?
I don't know. No, hey, you do your thing. It's just kind of funny because I am definitely. When I started, I had so many different indicators on my charts because some guy told me that MACD works and some guy says Bollinger's and then it was stochastics and moving averages and I'm like, okay, well these have to be the holy grail. And it was funny. As soon as I started removing those things, I was just focusing on price. And of course, ultimately, that's what makes us money. The indicator doesn't make you money. Price makes you money. So I think it's great to have a clean chart. And I actually removed grid lines because if you notice, yours is automatically putting it at 50 point increments on the NASDAQ. But sometimes it puts them at really odd increments. So I removed them because I just want price to tell me where it's turning, not some grid line. But other than that, I'm with you. Price and volume is it. That's all I need.
That's it. And if you are someone who I think has a million different indicators, start to strip those away and, just look at price action. You're going to, I think, have a much clearer perspective of where the markets are actually going.
All right. Absolutely. So what does your day look like? It sounds like you're doing teaching, you're doing trading and training and all that stuff. So walk us through your typical day. What kind of things are you doing?
Yeah, so Monday through Wednesday, my favorite days in our live trading room. So we go from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Eastern time, conducting first a thorough, comprehensive pre-market routine, taking a look at the news, economic reports, things that are outside the charts that can impact what the markets are doing. So we need to keep an eye on them. Then going into, as I started on the daily chart, getting a big picture of what the trend is on the certain markets, what the stocks are doing. And then we start to dive into the smaller time frames, the hourly, 30-minute, 15-minute, to start refining our zones and where those potential breakout trade opportunities are. So love doing active income trading. As I showed before, our students in live trading room did this week really well on some of these breakout trades to the downside. So Monday through Wednesday, full force with the markets, getting student input of what charts they want to look at. So very busy during the week with the live trading room, also putting out daily stock picks throughout the week. Jeff has been doing that as well. So the two of us very busy during the week, but mainly the live trading room, and love helping students. I think that's one of the things that just want to put out there is that, getting into this, I know how confusing and frustrating trading can be for people. So in our live trading room, I like, helping teach students throughout the live trading process so they can be more confident with their active income trading as well.
And as you mentioned, I have Elite Trade up here. That's where you guys are where to direct people to?
Yeah, so again, just came out maybe a week ago, the elitetrade.com. Our vision is really to simplify trading for people and reinvent the education process of how it's taught. I highly encourage people to ask questions, just again, understanding how confusing and intimidating it can be. So we want to break it down, simplify it with a very basic understanding of how to read price action so you can make high probability trade opportunities as well.
Well, all right. I think we got it covered. We got. Let me get your picture back up here. There you go. Got some chart analysis. Any questions from the viewers out there? I see Kaitlyn says, "What about volume charts for the equities during regular trading hours?" So I think you kind of answered that, talking about how you look at volume. I mean, you got a bunch of individual stocks, and maybe you can walk the viewers through kind of how volume impacts you. A reset here.
Can you hear me?
Yep, got you now. I thought it was your end. It's actually my end, which is crazy because I'm fiber optic here, so something's wrong. But
I'm sorry. As long as I'm back.
You're back. You're good. So
Okay.
Let's talk about volume a little bit. How does it impact you, and what sort of things do you look for?
Yeah, so volume is one of the main, I would say, indicators that I look at for me with my trade setup. So if you notice bottom of my screen, I do have volume. What I'm looking for are where we see a specific group of candles in those high volume areas. So when I think of volume, I think of this is the area where the institutions and the big banks are most actively involved. Mm-hmm. So if they're highly engaged at these areas, I want to definitely keep an eye on them as well. So for example, we can see that there was a huge volume spike yesterday at the open of the regular trading hours. So we can see here where we had this volume spike and price dropped, we can see price today return back to that area, and that was the origin of this strong move to the downside. So as far as what I do to look at and tie in volume, I'm looking at these areas on the price charts where we see these strong moves to the upside or to the downside. Potential retracements to those areas can give us good opportunities to trade, again, going back to trend, taking a breakout to the downside, or to get in short along with the big banks and institutions.
Cool.
So always keeping an eye on volume.
Yeah, I am too. You know, it's funny. I don't want to throw shade on this guy any more than I already do because I just can't stand the guy. But he would say that volume is not important; it's insignificant. I'm going, wait a minute. Volume is if without volume, price doesn't move. So volume is absolutely critical. So yeah, volume very important to me as well. Ben asks a question. He says, "People have so many different ways to determine trend. How do you determine trend? I guess what's your definition of trend?"
Good question, and I love that question. So if you ask me about trend, I'm going to be very happy and try to explain it to you in the simplest way. So with trend, I'm just looking for impulse and corrective moves to the downside. So I'm taking, where did we have the highest point on the NASDAQ, for example? So up here, I can see we had a high point, and then we had this pivot low point where price bounced, and we had a strong move up. Now, the highest point from there is when price got back here on the NASDAQ. This was the highest point. Once we broke this prior pivot low and we went to the downside, I'm thinking the trend is going to be more to the downside since we took out the stack of buy orders that initially was here. So what I'm conceptualizing in my head is that if there was a stack of buy orders here, that got taken out, that must mean that there's a larger stack of sell orders above this prior pivot. So then what we can see here is that on that retracement, price found that stack of sell tickets, the institutions pushed price lower, and the trend continues to the downside. And as such, we keep making lower highs, lower lows. So if the trend does continue to the downside, we can see even here we made a lower high from this prior high, broke to the downside. So I'm just waiting for that retracement back to where there may be another stack of sell tickets, and then the trend continues lower as we continue to make these lower highs and lower lows, hence a downtrend.
There you go. I'm there. Series of lower lows, lower highs. You got yourself a downtrend. Pretty easy. I think, guys, the challenge that most people do is they overcomplicate it. They will make things a little more problematic than it needs to be by trying to add all these different conditions. I think bottom line is if something is going down in price, you could argue it's in a downtrend, and the only confirming piece that I would look for is it making new lows? Because if it's not making new lows, that means buyers are supporting it. Hey, Don, good to see you. Got Don Fron with us. Don, next week, let's get you on the show. Let me know what day works for you. So yeah, I'm definitely a trend person as well, and I think that the trend is probably, aside from risk management, the trend is probably your biggest asset to having huge winning trades. It's just staying with that trend as long as possible.
Absolutely.
All right, last one. Costa Economeo says, how many trades does she take in a week with her approach? Are you pretty active, or do you limit yourself? Or how many trades do you say you take in about a week?
I'd say I'm pretty active. I would say in our live trading room is when I'm the most active, just because of those hours where the institutions are most actively involved, from 9 a.m. to 10:30, 11 a.m. Eastern time. I would say on average about 3 to 5 trades per day, as long as there's setups. So in some of these consolidation or correction phases, that's where I'm more waiting. So again, going back to trend, just a little lesson here where we're making lower highs and low lows. In this correction phase back to the upside, I'm not going to be actively trading that in case I get chopped up in that correction. But once I start to see that impulse move lower, then I'm going to start trying to get in short. It really depends on what phase of the trend we're at, if it's a corrective move or an impulse move. On the impulse moves, I'm going to be more aggressive to get in. On the corrective moves, it's going to be a little bit more elevated risk, and we do want to manage our risk more accordingly, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, first and foremost is risk management for sure. It's funny, Margaret commented, she says, I'm looking for zones being broken or created. And I guess you would say that's exactly what Kaitlyn's talking about, because she's saying, look, I'm a breakout trader, so zones being broken or being created, and that's looking for trends and pullbacks into demand zones. So, yeah, I think that's the foundation for success overall. Last one, I said that about the last comment. They ask everybody on the show this, and they now they put it on me to ask. It's kind of humorous, but the question is, and it always is this one: what about cryptocurrency? Come on, we're in the crypto era. Are you in it? Do you care?
I mean, for me, not really. Maybe, that I should be in it, but for me, I like just kind of focusing on things that work for me and my style. When things come out like crypto, or whether it was, other big stocks that came out, I kind of just see that as noise for me and focus on, the products I'm looking at. But if you want to look at a chart, I can assess it, see what the trend is from a technical standpoint. But that's kind of my focus, just assessing the charts, what's going on, and then making objective trade setups from there.
There you go.
Not something I look at all the time.
Yeah, I know. It's funny because it's one of these. It's like the hottest topic in the world at this point is cryptocurrency and digital assets, and it's interesting seeing how some instructors like, nah, I don't care. Others are kind of trying to figure it out because it's this ever evolving market. But I'm pretty sure at a certain point you guys will be charting cryptocurrencies because it's just another vehicle to make money, right? Doesn't matter if you get put 4 ticker symbols on it or 3 or 2 or 1. Doesn't matter as long as it moves up and down and it gives us liquidity. We're good to go.
Exactly. Yeah, you said liquidity, volume. As long as we have that, then let's take a look at it.
Cool. Anything else you want to share with us? I shared the Elite Trade site, so you guys can check that one out. Jeff Manson is probably watching. Oh wait, Jeff did say something. Hold on. Oh, it wasn't the Jeff. It was. And I'm sure they're trying to put you on the spot. Where did it go? Oh, the Elite Trade. They said, how about the 5-year and 10-year notes? Time to get in. Oh, I got to throw it out there.
Yeah, see, again, for me, that's not one of the main products that I look at. I'm more focused on the equity index futures. I would say that's my focus. I definitely can look at that as far as, from a technical standpoint. I love when people throw out different products.
Oh, yeah.
I'd say, stick with a few that you like the most and you can really read from a technical standpoint. So for me, it's mainly the equity index futures, some of the other commodities, but these are mainly the ones that I stick with.
I'll give you a parallel because one of my really good friends, you probably know her as well, Tilly Allison. When Tilly started, she traded one futures contract. She traded just the YM futures. And I you're still relatively young in my mind with regards to trading. 3 years, you've got a lot of experience, but when we get to 30, 40 years, now we're really talking. You start to build and get better. I think you get better and more comfortable with what you do. And it sounds to me you're very, very comfortable with what you do. Tilly took a little while to get her comfortable with the 10-year. With the Dow futures, and then from there she went from the Dow to the S&P to the Nasdaq to the Russell and kind of sped it up that way. And now all of a sudden Tilly is trading almost every single asset under the sun: options, futures, forex, commodities, real estate, whatever it can take. So I think that's kind of the evolution, and I like your approach. You mentioned Dow, Nasdaq, Russell, S&P. Those are my bread and butter. That's where I do my best analysis. They've got the best liquidity. But as we expand out, sometimes you find amazing opportunities in asset classes that were completely foreign to us. The key there is, yes, 10-tick Tilly. That's right. The key there is to make sure that if you do expand out, and I'm not talking to you specifically, Kaitlyn, I'm saying to anybody, is that we understand the nuances of each one of those products. For example, lumber futures trade completely different than Apple or NASDAQ futures. So there you go. Just thought I'd throw that out there for anybody who might be starting out and struggling. Look, start with just a couple things. Stick with just 2 or 3 index futures, fine. And then once you get comfortable, build. All right. Well, Kaitlyn, it's been a pleasure. I'm sorry it's been taking so long to get you on the program. I'll probably get you on more frequently. Maybe we can do a trio. We can get you, Jeff, and myself on the show one day to do a trio show one of these days.
That would be amazing. Yeah, just one more time. Yeah, if anyone goes to our new website, we just created that and launched it a week ago, theelitetrade.com. so many good products and services that we have there. Live trading rooms, stock picks, a lot of solid 90-minute lessons that we're inputting and new courses that we're creating. So check it out, contact us through there, and if you have any questions, feel free to let us know. But a great site. Our goal is to simplify and reinvent trading and how to read the price charts.
Perfect. Well, hey, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it, and hopefully I wasn't too rough on you today.
No, you were great. Thank you, Merlin.
My pleasure. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye, everyone.
Guys, that was Kaitlyn Ochrym giving us some insights into how she sees the markets. I thought it would be nice to see a female trader on the program since you guys have been asking about that. You guys can find out more information at theelitetrade.com. It was interesting, again, noting that she was really kind of staying with the basket of the major indexes, which is honestly where I think most people should get started in the markets. I get asked this all the time. Hey, Merlin, how would you get started in futures? And I would say, look, you start off with the major index futures, and don't start with the Russell. Stay away from the Russell, right? Start off with the Dow because it doesn't move as much per point. Start off with the Dow, then once you get comfortable and you get some skin in the game, right? Start trading live with a little bit of real money and you get some consistency, you bump it up to, let's say, the S&P or the NASDAQ, right? And you start speeding up those potential rates of return given the point or tick values of each of those futures contracts. Then the door opens to a whole world of amazing asset classes. Obviously, the futures markets have so much to offer, but I think that you could look at the Forex side of the futures market or all kinds of odd commodities that you wouldn't normally trade. To me, there's all sorts of opportunity out there. So there you go, start it. Not only start there, but you can kill it on just that as well. Absolutely, Don. 100%. Don, let's shoot for next Friday. I saw your thing. Not tomorrow, but the next Friday. I'll text you and we'll get you back on the show. In the NQ, I'd say it's the YM right now, or not the YM, the Russell futures, right? Give me some RTY. I mean, look at these price charts. I'll bring up the Russell today. We talked about this breaking out of its sideways range, right? We've had this in this yellow box forever, just kind of waiting for it to break, and all of a sudden, these last 2 days have just been great moves, follow through on a breakout trade. And if you look where it's headed, it's not any surprise. We're probably going to come smoking down. I mean, hell, we could hit this number by tomorrow. All right, it seems really crazy, way out of the way, but I mean, stranger things have happened, and momentum right now looks really aggressive to the south side. That would be my target. One thing I did want to get to, I forgot to mention this yesterday. Someone was asking about my SLV in a text message. I told you guys I sold a bunch of puts, and I was exercised back here at 21, right? So I've been holding silver for about a month, and I've been selling covered calls on it. I actually did sell the 2350s, got some decent premium. I'm fine to be out at 2350. We'll see how that one transpires, but I wanted to share that with you because I know some of you have been following my silver trade here for a while. Margaret says the yellow box is dead. Yes, it is, right? And great, fine. You know why? Because we'll find new yellow boxes. Netflix down 20%. I didn't see the after hours earnings. Oh boy. Netflix, this is your popcorn trade of the day, right? I talked about that on yesterday's show, saying we got a popcorn trade of the day. It's already down at 409, which is, surprise, surprise, the most logical point for it to fall to would be right around 409, 410. Now, that doesn't mean that it's going to necessarily bounce from here. Just be real careful tomorrow, guys. Down $100 in the after hours session. Is this the beginning of the end? I'm kicking myself because I was going to buy some puts. I was waiting for the pullback up, and I thought we might get a follow-through today, a little more of a rally up, but all of a sudden these markets just absolutely cratered, and I'll show you the intraday chart. Here is your, let's call it a 15-minute. Yeah, I'll do 15. It was looking good. You had this nice market rally. It looked like it was going to start to break through. I was actually expecting us to jump maybe up to this 4660 mark on the S&P. Well, it just gave up the ghost, and I guess I'm not going to get my short opportunity. I was really looking forward to shorting this market. Unfortunately, I might be chasing it at this point if I do. We're almost 3 standard deviations, so I kind of think that we're done for the week as far as excitement. That's a tough one, Don. It really is tough because, I think we're going to get to a point. Where this type of sell-off that we see here, and this is the S&P, you can look at the NASDAQ as well, it's even worse. This is going to start to trigger margin calls. There's so many people who are leveraged with paper profits. So, I don't know. I do think you'll see a little bit of a bounce because you're coming right in this demand zone, right? That's a logical bounce point for it to happen, is like right now. But boy, if we end up getting below some of this 1443 mark, we could see some much bigger downside moves. I'm hoping for the bounce. I want to get a pretty big sizable position short. Unfortunately, I'm not in it yet. Now, granted, we are not dying. This market is not dead. Here, if we go off the highs we established about 2 weeks ago, we are down quite a bit. At this moment, we're down 11.7%. You guys might remember my beginning of the year prediction was we're going to be down 20% and then bounce. So, and that was actually on the S&P. I'm on the NASDAQ at this point. But I think we'll go down 20% this year on the S&P, which is going to bring us all the way down to this level here, right around 38.28. Notice that's a long way to go. We got a long way to go before we get there. But Drew says I wouldn't mind 14K for the NASDAQ. I think you're going to get lower than 14K, my friend. It's funny because options expire tomorrow, and I'm really in the position of I've been selling so many puts. I've been doing it for so long. It's been great, just consistent income streams to the tune of 1 to 2% per month, which I know some of you are like, oh, it's not enough. You know what? For what I'm doing, it's actually very safe. And as this market rolls over, I'm going to have to make this decision next week. Do I want to continue selling puts in the face of this avalanche of price action to the south side and get some better premium, or do I actually just go out and start buying puts? So we'll see how this one progresses. It's going to be an interesting week or so ahead of us, but great moves this week. Probably one of the worst weeks we've seen in the NASDAQ in quite some time. I guess you're going all the way back into end of October of 2020. This is the worst week we've seen. All right. Wait, the melt up is still coming. Hey, that's got to be Jeff. I know that's Jeff now. It could be, it could be. I'm seeing fewer and fewer things that would support the melt up. The only reason I think that we're going to get that melt up is because so many people are bearish the market that when everyone thinks it's going down, that's when it ends up rallying to the upside. All right, I did not get a chance to grab any of the images, which I normally do for you, which is talking about your announcements for tomorrow. But I will tell you what some of those are right now as opposed to me having a slide up on the screen. Friday is a quiet day. I mean, we really don't have too much for the U.S. You do have CB leading index, and that's pretty much it. If you're trading the Canadian markets, you do have retail sales numbers. And if we've been taking a peek at that Canadian dollar, let's bring up some Forex. Let's spread it around. Here is your USD CAD. The Canadian dollar has been showing some strength, although it's hesitating. Now, you see this falling, that's because this is the dollar against the CAD. So if we see the dollar falling, that means the CAD is rising. So the CAD's had a pretty significant bounce, a little bit of hesitation here. I think retail sales could certainly impact this even further and get that trend pushed back to the upside. Now, if you're trading that USD CAD, you notice there's some lows right around 123. And that, to me, is kind of that line in the sand. There's this uptrend that's been intact for quite some time here, and we're there. We're on that trend line right now. So if we get down below this trend line and possibly break those lows from back in October, that USD CAD could go down much, much further. CAD still daily supply. Yep. Big supply level up there. All right, what else we got? Mike said about 3 January. What time we got? Hold on, I got to end this thing. Okay, we're running late. Got 3 January 21st Netflix puts 4:45, 5 minutes before the close for 600. Is there any way to lock in the profit at the current level after hours? Nope. And that's what sucks, man, because you're in something that's so volatile that could get sucked out by the time the market's open. I don't know if this will let me look up the Netflix chart on a 5-minute. I wonder if it will actually let me see the after hours. Yeah, I think there is a setting here. I forget where it's at. I don't use this one enough, but you can actually go show the 24-hour time period. So session breaks. I don't know where it's at, but yeah, I can go in here somehow and show the. Is it this one? There we go. There's your Netflix right now. Ugh, ugly. But right down in that area of demand, so not too bad. Could you get out? No, not on options. Options you cannot, but this could actually come rallying all the way back up and open positive tomorrow. You just never know. Bitcoin is about to pump as well. We all know the challenge of all-time high. Yeah, I'm not in that camp right now. I think you're going lower. I think you're going to see Bitcoin and the whole crypto market go lower, and it has a lot to do with regulations, which is not that daunting. In my opinion, it's going to be a bit of a crypto winter for a while. That's all right. For me, it presents buying opportunities, and as long as I have my capital allocated and earning some income streams from it, I'm fine. Patrick is 30,000 base floor. Definitely, but if you look at this price chart right here, it looks like the floor, right? You got this way back here. Yeah, that looks like a demand zone. But remember, I put this trend line on the lows going back to 2017, to the lows of 19, to the lows of 2020. That means 8,000 is a potential target. And I agree. If we break 20 or 30,000, I'm scared. If we break 30,000, we're going to fall probably very, very quickly down to 10. Yeah, but we'll see. We'll see. There's going to be a lot of money being squeezed out of the system at that point in time. So for tomorrow, again, you had retail sales numbers coming out for Canada. If you're looking at earnings, there are some earnings, and relative bias, it's all a dip. That's true. It's just a time bias, right? So today's earnings, you had Netflix. Netflix actually had a 62% beat of earnings. They were supposed to report 82 cents. They came out at $1.33, and they're down huge in the after-hour session. Who else? Intuitive Surgical, American Airlines beat earnings as well, CSX. And then tomorrow, with regards to the earnings announcements, you do have a couple big names. You have Ally Financial and Schlumberger will be reporting earnings. Give me a 10 grand, yeah. I tell you what, at 10 grand, I'm going to buy a whole bunch of it because I know just from the simple math over time, Bitcoin will be fine. It's just we're going to have some big swings, man, and some crazy stuff going on. All right, that's going to do it for me, guys. Tomorrow's show is going to be shorter than normal. I have a doctor's appointment at 3 o'clock, so I have to I got to get out of here probably by 2:40. I got to finish the show tomorrow. So don't try to get me to stick around, Big Eb. I know you want to. You're trying to get me to stick around the whole show. Margaret likes the crypto winner because you want to buy, right? You want to buy in that crypto winner. All right, that's it for me. If you guys have questions, email me. You go to TraderMerlin@gmail.com. That's the easiest way to send questions and comments in, feedback, people you want to see on the show. Many of you have said, hey, let's bring on some female traders. Great. We had Kaitlyn on the program today. If you want to know more information, you can find out more about their teachings at theelitetrade.com. I'm telling everybody, I can't drink tomorrow. I know, it's funny. I can't drink whiskey tomorrow because I'm going to walk into his office and he'll be like, you smell like whiskey. You fail your evaluation. Yeah, no drinking for me tomorrow until I'm done with the doctor's appointment. Anyway. All right, everybody, that's it for me. Hope you enjoyed today's show, learned a little bit of something along the way, felt a little bit inspired by someone else's journey in these financial markets. Until then, happy trading. I will see you all on tomorrow's show. Take care, everybody.